So I just want to explain the difference here between a couple of chairs that we have in our seating range. So a lot of times people ask us, they come along and they say, you know, is this chair a restraint or is that chair a restraint? And I just want to emphasise the point, it's back to person-centred care. It's dependent on the personnel you're putting in the chair. No one chair suits everyone. You know, you have to do an assessment of the resident to identify whether that is a restraint or isn't a restraint for that particular person. So here on this style chair here, this is traditionally a full sort of care chair. So it's essentially like a mattress put into a seating format. So a traditional case where this would be used is if you've got someone that's really in the end stage of life, end of life care, and they'll traditionally be bed bound, but we want to take them out to the lounge or take them around. So you can put them in this style chair here, and it's designed to offer them pressure relief and ensure that they can be taken out to the lounge to get them out of the bed. Now, the type of resident using this was not going to it's not designed for a completely mobile person that's getting in and out of the chair. It's designed for that particular type of resident that needs that real high-end level of care. So the key point I want to emphasise here is that everything here is adjusted by the person caring for the resident in the chair, not the resident themselves. So we just need to clearly identify whether that's going to be a restraint or not for the resident, and that's determined by the resident themselves. Because if we go back to that same old thing, if it limits their normal freedom of movement, it could be a restraint. If it doesn't, it's not necessarily a restraint. So my point is, if you've got someone in here that is lying in this here, they don't have the ability to be able to move or get in and out of the chair, or even you know, self-mobilise or roll themselves or move themselves, well, it's not necessarily limiting their normal freedom of movement because they don't have the ability to do that movement anyway. So my point is here, is that you could have someone in this here, they're in the end stage of life care, they're just lying there, they don't have the ability to get in and out, they don't have the ability to adjust it, but they don't have the ability to move, or that's not within their realm of movement that they can do, well, it's not necessarily a restraint. Over here on this other side, we have a slightly different model of chair. This style chair is actually designed so that the patient can actually recline it back themselves. So in this particular model, once again, we get that question, is this a form of restraint or is it not? Well, once again, back to that resident assessment. Does it limit their normal freedom of movement? If they have the ability to recline back and they have the ability to sit themselves forward and get out of the chair, well, no, it's not limiting their normal freedom of movement, so in that case it wouldn't be a restraint. So our key point is you do have these different chairs with different levels of adjustment by the patient or the resident and by the attendant or the carer. And once again, you can't just put it in a box. It has to come back to that resident assessment to identify whether it is restricting their normal freedom of movement or it isn't. So that's why there is a large chair range out there with different capabilities.